Hello, you're on the Reddit Reveals channel. He's like a pet project I forgot to finish. That's what she said. I wasn't supposed to be in the hallway. I wasn't supposed to hear it. But I dropped my phone under the cabinet near the guest bathroom and crawled halfway under the hallway bench like some unpaid intern at her fancy party. I heard every word. She was talking to her friend, Marla. The same Marla who gave me peppermint socks for Christmas last year. Probably as a joke, now that I think about it. He still edits videos for that warehouse tutorial thing. Tessa continued. Like, forklifts and exit signs. I mean, he's sweet, but he's not someone you build a future with. I didn't breathe. Not because I was trying to be stealthy. I just forgot how. The last thing she said was a whisper, but it cut sharper than any scream. If I ever do marry him, it's out of pity, not passion. I stayed under that bench for another full minute, frozen, like if I didn't move, none of it would be real. When I finally stood up, the party was in full swing. Laughter in the kitchen, music in the living room. Tessa, my fiancée, twirling around with a glass of Prosecco, acting like she hadn't just gutted me in casual conversation. I walked into the kitchen like nothing happened. I smiled at her. She smiled back. I poured a drink. She kissed my cheek. And I decided, not loudly, not dramatically, but with the kind of silence that feels like thunder in your chest. This wedding was over. She just didn't know it yet. What happened next wasn't planned. I didn't know it would involve the microphone, a toast, or her father crying in the backyard. But I'll tell you all of it. Every brutal detail. Because if I was a pet project she never finished, this was going to be the final edit. They always say revenge is best served cold. But I wasn't feeling cold. I was burning. Burning with embarrassment, with humiliation, with that quiet kind of rage that bubbles under your skin while you fake a smile and pretend everything is fine. I didn't storm out. I didn't confront her right then. That would have been too easy, too expected. Instead, I poured myself a drink, orange juice, no alcohol, and watched her from across the room as she laughed with her coworkers like a high school prom queen who never aged out of the role. The same laugh she used when she told me my dream of starting a documentary channel was cute. The same laugh she used when I mispronounced quinoa at that brunch place. I kept replaying that line in my head. If I ever do marry him, it's out of pity. You know what's funny? I had a speech prepared for that night. Not one of those cringy ones where the groom sobs through his gratitude, but something simple, a toast. Her family had asked me to speak. They liked me. At least I thought they did. But the moment I heard what she really thought of me, the speech in my jacket pocket became useless. Words about love and loyalty and building a future together? Trash. Absolute fiction. So I rewrote the speech. In my head. On the fly. Right there. Leaning against the marble countertop while someone's kid spilled cranberry juice near my shoe. And when her dad clinked his glass and said, "Let's hear from Eldon," I didn't hesitate. I stood up, still clutching the glass of juice, and cleared my throat. Everyone quieted. Tessa beamed at me like nothing was wrong. Maybe she thought I'd propose again. Maybe she thought I'd say something adorable, like always. Instead, I said, "It's strange giving a toast for a future I won't be part of." Confused chuckles. Nervous smiles. Tessa tilted her head, that fake smile twitching slightly. Tonight, I overheard something. I continued. It wasn't meant for me, but it was about me. From someone I trusted completely. Dead silence now. Marla was frozen with a shrimp skewer halfway to her mouth. I won't say who said it. I added, even though everyone could see Tessa's smile disintegrating. But they said if they ever married me, it would be out of pity, not passion, that I'm more of a pet project than a partner. I looked at her then, not with anger, not even with pain, just with the kind of clarity you get when you finally see the truth through all the fog. I'm not here to shame anyone, but I am done pretending I'm part of something that's already decided I'm not enough. The room was so quiet, you could hear the heating vents. I stepped down, handed the glass to someone, I don't even remember who, and walked toward the front door. She didn't follow, but her father did, and what he said outside was something I'll never forget. The cold night air hit me like a slap when I stepped outside. I didn't have a coat. I hadn't planned to leave. But you don't plan to walk away from your own engagement, do you? It just happens. One moment, you're part of a shared future, and the next, you're breathing through your teeth on someone else's porch, trying not to shake too hard. I stood at the edge of the driveway, trying to calm my heartbeat, when I heard the door open behind me. Footsteps. Slow. Purposeful. Then I heard him say, She's more like her mother than I care to admit. It was her father, Harold. A tall man, stern face, the kind of guy who wears disappointment like a second skin. But he wasn't scowling. In fact, he looked tired. Sad, even. I didn't speak. I didn't trust my voice. She did the same thing to her last fiancé, he said, stuffing his hands in the pockets of his wool coat. Tore him down in private. Laughed about him in public. But you? You lasted longer than anyone. I blinked. Wait, there was someone before me. He gave me a look. You thought you were her first engagement? Son, she's had more almost than I can count. She just never got as far as the save the dates. My stomach twisted. Why didn't you ever say anything? Because I was stupid enough to believe maybe this time was different, he said. You were kind, gentle, real. I thought that would be enough to straighten her spine. I let out a bitter laugh. Guess we were both wrong. Harold sighed and glanced back at the house, where silhouettes moved behind the curtains like ghosts at a party neither of us wanted to return to. She's not evil, he said, but she's selfish, charming enough to convince herself that cruelty is just honesty with style. I didn't respond. I didn't have to. The truth was already sitting between us like a third person. He looked at me and added, You leaving her tonight? That took more guts than marrying her ever would have. I almost teared up. I didn't expect that. I didn't even like Harold. But in that moment, he felt like the only one who saw me clearly. Then his face shifted, just slightly. Something uncomfortable crept into his voice. But I'd get your things out of the apartment tonight, if I were you. I frowned. Why? She's not home. No, he said slowly. But she's not stupid either. She won't take this humiliation quietly. He was right. When I got back to the apartment, less than an hour later, the door was wide open. And someone was already inside. The hallway light flickered when I stepped into the apartment. It always did that. I'd meant to fix it, but never got around to it. One of those after the wedding tasks that no longer mattered. But the light wasn't what got my heart racing. It was the silence. Not peaceful silence. Not no one's home silence. This was the kind that pressed against your ears, like a vacuum. Like something was watching you from the corners of your own space. The front door was open when I got there, just slightly, like someone had forgotten to close it all the way. But Tessa was still at the party when I left. I'd seen her. She was crying. Yes, but still very much surrounded by people and pity. So unless she had teleportation powers, something didn't add up. I stepped inside, cautious, every creak of the floorboard beneath my shoes sounding like a scream in that empty place. The lights were still on, the living room lamp, the kitchen overhead, but the vibe was all wrong. Like the air had shifted, like the walls knew something I didn't. Then I saw the suitcase. Mine. The blue one with the scuffed corner, and the handle that only extended if you pulled it just right. It was sitting by the couch, already packed. Poorly. Clothes stuffed in like she was in a hurry, some still on hangers, others inside out. My favorite hoodie, the one she always said made me look 12, was shoved halfway out the side. And on the table? My laptop. Open. Active. She'd logged in. She knew my password. I'd told her once when she needed to print a plane ticket. That was over a year ago. Apparently, she hadn't forgotten. The screen showed an open folder, one she never had any reason to go near. Client work, archive, NDAs, editable contracts. She wasn't just kicking me out. She was trying to sabotage me. I closed the laptop immediately and pulled the plug. My hands were shaking. Not from fear, not yet, but from disbelief. Who does that? Who hears a breakup speech and responds by targeting the one thing that gives you financial oxygen? She must have sprinted out of the party the second I left. Gotten someone to drive her. Maybe Marla. Maybe Bryce. God knows one of them probably lives for drama. Then I noticed the note. Folded, placed neatly on top of the suitcase, written in that stiff, aggressive cursive she used whenever she wanted to appear elegant. Don't bother coming back. You embarrass me in front of everyone. You'll regret this. No signature. No love, Tessa. Just that cold sentence. Like a threat wrapped in wedding lace. I stared at it for what felt like an hour. My mind raced through every possible reaction. Call the police? No, too dramatic. Call her father? No, what could he do now? Call her? No, that's what she wanted. A reaction. A counterattack. Something to keep this fight alive. So I did the one thing she never saw coming. I didn't react. Not yet. Instead, I took my hard drive, backed up everything important, changed all my passwords, and grabbed everything she'd missed, the things that really mattered to me. Then I left. But I didn't go to a hotel. And I didn't go to my brother's place. I went somewhere she would never expect. Somewhere that held the one piece of leverage I didn't even realize I had until that very night. I didn't go to my brother's place because he would ask questions. I didn't go to a hotel because I didn't want to be surrounded by honeymooners and stale continental breakfast smells. I needed somewhere quiet, hidden, forgotten. So I went to my old workspace. Not the laundry room turned studio in our apartment, the real one. The one I hadn't used in months. It was a dusty corner unit above a closed-down pharmacy on Sheffield Street, where the heat barely worked and the windows were sealed shut with 20-year-old paint. I still had a key, still paid for it monthly, just in case. That just in case had arrived. I plugged in my laptop, hooked up the external drives I'd rescued, and sat down in the rickety chair I once called my editing throne. My body felt like it had been hollowed out. The adrenaline was gone. All that was left was a vibrating ache under my ribs. The grief you don't admit is grief. I didn't plan to do anything that night but sleep. I had no revenge scheme, no master plan. Not yet. But old habits die hard. And before I knew it, I was scrolling through folders. Not looking for anything. Just moving through them like flipping pages in a book you don't want to read but can't close. That's when I found the folder labeled client_temp, Bryce_B. I'd completely forgotten about it. Months ago, Bryce had hired me, not directly, through a shell company, to edit some internal training videos. At the time, I thought it was a coincidence. I didn't even connect that Bryce B. was that Bryce. Tessa had so many friends. So many smug, bearded, startup bros who all blurred together in my head. But this folder was different. Inside were 5 raw video files. I clicked on the first one, expecting some dry, corporate tutorial. What I got instead was a video of Bryce, sitting in an apartment that wasn't his, talking directly to the camera. "I know this is risky," he said, "but she said you were harmless. That you never even open these files. That you just trim the ends and export." I froze. He was talking about me. He was talking to me. The timestamp on the video was from a month ago. My mouth went dry. "She told me you don't watch anything," he continued, laughing nervously. "So yeah, this is a message. From me. To you. I guess it's a confession?" He leaned forward. "I didn't know, man. At first. I thought you two were just dating. Not engaged. She never told me. She said you were on a break. That it was complicated. That you were clingy." Her words. Not mine. I paused the video. My entire body was shaking. This wasn't just cheating. This was premeditated. She knew I'd be editing Bryce's footage. She told him I wouldn't watch it. That I was passive. Stupid. A background character in my own life. I hit play again. "She said it's temporary," Bryce went on. "That she's figuring things out. But honestly, man, you deserve to know. I'm not proud of this. I didn't sign up to be the other guy." He swallowed hard. "If you ever do see this, I'm sorry." The video ended. I sat there in silence for a long time. I wasn't angry. I wasn't heartbroken. I was humiliated. Every laugh, every lie, every moment she touched my face and said, "You're the only one who really gets me." It had all been scripted. But now I had something she didn't know existed. A recording. Her mistake was trusting that I never looked too closely. She forgot I'm an editor. And editors? We always review the raw footage, eventually. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't eat. I just sat there in the dark, staring at the paused frame of Bryce's face frozen on my editing screen. The sun rose without asking permission, spilling light through the grime on the window like it was trying to cleanse something filthy. But it couldn't. I must have watched that video 10 times. Not because I needed confirmation. Not because I was shocked. But because I was numb. And watching it, again and again, was the only thing that made it feel real. The rage came later. The kind that doesn't shout or break things. The kind that simmers. The kind that builds slowly behind your eyes and settles in your jaw, your fists, your spine. I didn't want revenge. Not the kind you see in movies. No public confrontation, no drama at a restaurant, no gotcha moment posted online. That's not my style. That would make her the center of the story again. No, I wanted her to vanish from the narrative. To be erased. Like a bad audio track you mute and replace without a second thought. But I had a problem. I couldn't just disappear. We were still entangled. Our accounts, our lease, our wedding deposits. My name was still on documents that connected us like some grotesque paper umbilical cord. So I made a plan. A quiet one. First, I emailed my landlord and requested early termination. I attached Bryce's video file, not to blackmail, but to explain why I was vacating immediately. He replied with 2 words, understood. Approved. Then I reached out to the wedding vendors. Told them the truth, or enough of it. Most of them were surprisingly sympathetic. One florist even offered me a partial refund, saying, "You'd be shocked how often this happens." But the most satisfying part? The edits. I took the Bryce video and cleaned it. Color corrected. Balanced the audio. Removed the awkward pauses. Made him look and sound exactly as he was. A slick, uncomfortable man confessing to sleeping with his friend's fiancée and hoping the friend was too spineless to ever find out. I didn't post it online. I didn't send it to her. I uploaded it to a private link and embedded it into a resume I knew she had saved in our shared cloud drive. A resume I knew she had submitted to at least 3 corporate offices. She reused it constantly. She never checked the hyperlinks. I replaced her portfolio site button with the video. Call it petty. Call it cruel. But to me, it was poetry. She'd been padding her resume with fake charity work and buzzwords like empathy-led branding. Now, if anyone clicked, they'd see the truth. Not because I wanted to ruin her career, but because I wanted her to feel what I'd felt. Exposed. Of course, it didn't take long. 3 days later, she called me. Unknown number. I answered without thinking. "You think you're clever?" she hissed. "I'm an editor," I said calmly. "Clever is literally the job." She was silent for a moment. Then, "You'll regret this." "No," I said. "I already regret trusting you. The rest? That's just cleanup." She hung up. I blocked the number. I thought that was it. The end. But then I got a message, not from her. From someone I never expected to hear from again. Someone who told me everything I didn't know yet. And that's when I realized. This wasn't over. Not even close. The message came through LinkedIn of all places. A name I hadn't seen in 2 years popped up like a ghost knocking on a window. Liam Greaves. Liam wasn't my best friend. He wasn't even in my close circle. But we'd worked together on a side project back when I was doing freelance sound design for indie horror podcasts. He was a developer who coded immersive web experiences. We had one late-night pizza-fueled brainstorm that ended in a clunky interactive audio mystery about a haunted elevator. I hadn't spoken to him since. His message was short. "You probably don't remember me, but we need to talk. It's about Tessa, and I think you deserve to know." I stared at it for 20 minutes before replying. Not because I was confused. I wasn't. I was exhausted, mentally bruised, emotionally dislocated. But eventually, I answered. "What do you know?" He sent his number. 5 minutes later, we were on a call. His voice was the same. Calm. Always a little too measured, like someone who overthinks everything but never shows it. He didn't waste time. "She reached out to me 6 months ago," he said. Said she had a new fiancé and wanted to create a digital wedding invite. Something cool, interactive, unique. That checked out. Tessa hated boring. Our Save the Date was supposed to be a choose-your-own-adventure site where guests could pick themes for their RSVP. She offered decent money, so I agreed. Liam continued. But something felt off. The questions she wanted included in the RSVP were strange. Strange how? She wanted to know if guests were single, their current employer, annual income range, favorite wine, preferred dating app. I didn't know whether to laugh or throw up. She told me it was for seating charts, that she wanted to help people network, but it didn't feel like that. I felt my skin crawl. "So what are you saying?" He hesitated. "A few weeks ago, I saw her name pop up again, but this time she was using a different email address, different last name, reaching out to other developers, building another invite, with a different man's name listed as the groom." The silence between us stretched. "You're not the only one," Liam said quietly, "and I don't think you were ever the first." I didn't speak. Couldn't. My mouth went dry. My vision narrowed. She's been bouncing between engagements like a con artist, using each one to climb, socially, financially. Your wedding was part of the pattern. I leaned back in my chair and stared at the ceiling. All the puzzle pieces I'd been holding, the weird social circle shifts, the obsession with optics, the subtle undermining, they started to fit. Horribly. Perfectly. She planned the embarrassment. I muttered, mostly to myself. What? She knew I'd find that video eventually. She knew I'd react. She just didn't expect I'd stay quiet long enough to build my own exit. Liam was quiet for a beat. Then he said, I don't know what you want to do with this info. But you're not crazy. You're not weak. She's done this before. And she'll do it again. After we hung up, I sat in the dark for hours. No music. No editing. Just stillness. For the first time since the breakup, I didn't feel humiliated. I felt targeted. And that changes everything. Because you can mourn a relationship. You can even forgive a betrayal. But once you realize you were a mark, you start thinking like someone with nothing to lose. I didn't go to the police. I didn't sue her. I didn't start a campaign to ruin her life. Because the truth is, by the time I had all the pieces, she had already done that to herself. I learned later, through Liam, through whispers from people who had once laughed with her at dinner parties, that the other fiancé had pulled out, too. He found out. Maybe not from me, maybe not from Bryce, but someone connected the dots. Her web finally tangled. And when she tried to spin another one, nobody bit. She left the city not long after. No big dramatic goodbye. Just gone. Deleted her socials. Changed numbers. Started fresh somewhere else. She always was good at rebranding. I assume she's telling someone else a new version of the story where she's the victim, the misunderstood girl whose boyfriend overreacted. But I don't care. I've stopped checking. What matters is what happened after. I kept the footage. Not for revenge. Not to show the world. I kept it as a reminder of what I survived. Because when you're emotionally manipulated for long enough, you start to rewrite your own history, wondering if it was ever that bad, if maybe you were the dramatic one. That file keeps me grounded. It reminds me that gaslighting is real, and it happens in silk gloves, not just raised voices. I moved out of the city. Not far, just far enough. I found a cheap cottage with spotty Wi-Fi and a view of trees instead of traffic. The air smells like dirt and rain and sometimes wild mint when the wind's right. I turned the space into something new, a real studio. Not in a corner or a hallway or a laundry room. A full room with actual lighting, real sound panels, and a door that locks when I need silence. I went back to editing, but not forklift safety videos. I started working with indie creators, small filmmakers, and podcasters who were just like me, underestimated, overlooked. People with shaky dreams and real talent. And then something happened I never expected. I got a message from a woman named Marin, a writer from Oregon. She'd seen one of my edits on a small film festival site and asked if I'd help her cut together a documentary she was working on. A personal one. Raw. Messy. Beautiful. We worked remotely for months. At first it was all business, timelines, cuts, tweaks. But somewhere between the third draft and the late-night calls about pacing and music cues, we started laughing more. Talking longer. Sharing. She never made me feel like a side character. She never talked over me. She never rolled her eyes when I said I needed more time. She never once treated my work like it was something to be tolerated. She treated it like it mattered. Like I mattered. We haven't met in person yet, but we've both agreed to fix that soon. She's flying out next month, and this time, I'm not afraid of being seen. Not afraid of being loved without conditions. And if that never happens, if it doesn't turn into some fairy tale ending, that's okay too. Because I'm not the same man who crawled under a hallway bench and listened to the woman he loved reduce him to a punchline. I'm the man who walked away. And this time, I'm not editing that part out.